and welcome to another beautiful time on Executive Discourse, that program where we celebrate trailblazers and people who have made marks in their chosen fields. On this week's episode of the program, we have with us a seasoned administrator. He is a politician. He is an academic. In fact, interestingly, he started out his career as an assistant lecturer, and he is a lawyer. Today, he is the Postmaster General of Nigeria. He is the MD of the Nigerian Postal Service. Please join me as we welcome to Executive Discuss Dr. Ismail Adebayo Adewusi. On to Executive Discuss. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
It's good to have you with us.
Thank you very much.
And of course, my name is Ololade Adeniji Adele. Welcome to the show. For the sake of this discussion, I would want you to take our viewers through your early years. Tell us about what your early years were like. Where were you born and how you grew the schools you attended, so that our viewers can get to really understand who our guest is today.
Thank you very much. I was born in a rural community of Erua in the Barapa East local government of Oyo State some 62 years ago. Started my early life in school, the Islamic primary school in Sango in Erua. I went to a school called the Baptist Secondary Commercial Modern School between 1973 and 1975. And from there, I proceeded to the Technical College in Ife between 75 and 78. And thereafter, I entered the Ibadan Polytechnic between 1980 and 1982. And I studied computer studies. And thereafter, went to the University of Ife, where I studied economics. I left the university with a first-class honors, and that compelled me to venture into academics, where I was appointed as the graduate assistant, and then I started my master's degree in my department, the economics department, where I concluded in 1988. I taught briefly after my master's degree when I was appointed as assistant lecturer. And from there, I got a scholarship to pursue my PhD in Japan. And I went to a university called Keio University. It's one of the oldest university in Japan. And that's my story academically. Before I returned back to Nigeria in 1994, where I joined banking. I worked with Lead Merchant Bank. My late chairman, Oba Oladele Olashore, was at one time, as you know, a veteran banker and accountant, and worked with the bank between 1994 and year 2000, where I handled several positions. And eventually, I left banking and joined government in Lagos when I was appointed by the Ashwaju administration as managing director of Ibile Holdings, where we managed the investment portfolio of Lagos State government. And that was it. At the end of my journey, I was appointed finance commissioner and later commissioner for budget and economic planning in Lagos. And that has been my trajectory of professional life until I ventured into politics, where I wanted to be governor of Oyo State in 2007 and 2011. And I eventually decided to continue to contribute my quota to my community by way of giving the best I can. I mean, to uplift my people. And that's it. I was appointed as a Postmaster General CEO of NIPOS in December of 2019. And I'm just barely a year old in this job.
Now, looking at your trajectory, your career so far, you started out as an academic, like we said. I'm wondering now, what is it that took you away from the line of full academics? Because usually when you find people that start their career like that, they usually stay back in the academia.
Well, I would say that my exposure to advanced economy of Japan actually changed some of my worldview about academics. At the time I was in academics, there was no internet. If we had to do most of our researches, we had to start from the scratch. We enter the library, bring together more than 20, 30 books, we read from page to page and all of that. And while I went to Japan, it was early as 1988, technology was already evolving. We already had access to internet in the library. If I had to do research, it was a little bit easier. And I came back into Nigeria and we still had the same old challenge, and it was virtually impossible to now fit into that.
Having been exposed
Exactly.
to modern advancements.
Exactly. That's exactly what changed my mind about academics, and I moved into the world of business, and banking was my first call. And I think it's been quite very interesting and very challenging as well.
Like you said, in December 2019, you were appointed the Postmaster General of Nigeria. Now, when you hear Postmaster General, especially for people on the streets, well, anything that has to do with the post office, you just go like, okay, letters, stamps, and all of that. Can you actually take us through what it takes to actually work in the Nigerian Postal Service, not to talk of being the Postmaster General?
Well, the truth is that the Nigerian Postal Service is one of the oldest institutions, very, very old institution, because the first postal facility in Nigeria came as far back as 1562, and the first stamp was launched in 1874, long before Nigeria became a country. And so the tradition has been very, very long. And so we have people who have been in the Nigerian Postal Service who have passed through the tutelage of training, and because it's not just anybody that can handle postal service, as it were. It may look so simple, but you have a lot of training challenges that comes with it. And I know that the Universal Postal Union, the UPU, was established in order to coordinate the universal approach to postal service across nations. Because the postal service operates by bringing together nation to nation. You want to send a letter from here to the United States, you need to have a relationship with the United States. So we have to maintain a relationship with each of the countries who are members of the 192 strong membership of the Universal Postal Union. And so it takes a lot of training, it takes a lot of exposure to practices in other jurisdictions, how they manage their system. And that's the way I met it when I came in. Of course, to be Postmaster General, you need to have even beyond, because the postal business today is a business. Postal service is now a business all over the world. It's not just about the element of just buying stamp, putting it on a letter, and sending the letter. It goes beyond that. And because of that, you need, to have an extensive background of education that covers business, that covers law, that covers accounting. You need to understand, the exchanges, especially the international operations, how we settle internationally between one postal service
And the
and
other.
the other. And these are, there's what we call universal postal accounts. Every member nation maintains that account with the Universal Postal Union that operates like the clearing house. So it's a very big, a bit technical, as I found. But because of my background, it's
Because
been
I was just going to
very,
ask
it's
that.
been
So
very
it's safe
easy.
to say that your background in economics, in the finance, even as a lawyer, seems to have prepared you for this position you've taken today.
Yeah. I want to believe that it has helped because you enter into legal relationship with almost every agency that you work with. Even among the nations of the world where we exchange relationship, we sign agreement. If you need to understand what those agreements are saying, so that you do not commit
Your nation
the nation,
the wrong way.
to some of these potential problems that may arise as a result of not getting the right things done at the stage of, and not only that, the knowledge of economics has also helped because economics of postal service is very interesting. Interesting to the extent that, okay, let's take this as an example. Today in Nigeria, especially we maintain reach across Nigeria. There is no local government in Nigeria where you do not have a postal service facility. We have a post office everywhere. And even to coordinate in over 3,000 locations across Nigeria, especially given the challenges of the locations that are not tied to internet, that don't even, the local communities, the rural communities. It's very challenging. It's very challenging. But we have to maintain presence. And the other side of it is that we also operate a service as a postal service, a public postal service operator, okay, that we need to continuously even subsidize our services. For example, if you want to post a letter from Lagos to Maiduguri, the minimum postage stamp that is imposed on the postal service is 50 naira. So we still charge, even in this age and times, 50 naira to move a letter, and that letter must get delivered. Okay, and so those are some of the challenges. But then, as a public postal operator, This is the same thing that the rest of postal administrations across the world also faces. It's an imposition of the Universal Postal Union Convention that you need to ensure that the average person is able to move their letters, their mails at subsidized rate. Otherwise, some people will not be able to afford the cost of this. But today, the private operators don't give a damn about that, or because their motive is profit. So they charge, according to the competitive rate in the market, and they keep going. But we are mandated to continue to provide service at relatively low cost.
I want to ask you a question, and no pun intended here. Growing in the very, very early 70s, yes, stamps, post office, letters by post, and all of that were the order of the day. Even when in school, maybe as far back as a place like Maiduguri or Mina, and you needed to get across to your parents, you will write a letter and it will be delivered.
Yes.
Now, for children that have been born in this age, I think maybe children from around the 2000s or even the late 1990s, a lot of them don't seem to know what it is with the post office. In fact, these days, sometimes when I go into maybe a town or a village or something, or a local government, and I see a post office, I wonder that your main will still have post office and postal services operating in Nigeria. What exactly brought us to that level? Because postal service had a pride of place in the 70s and maybe into the 80s. What brought us to our knees like that?
I think you're very correct. And I want to say that I think it's the coming of the disruptive technology of the internet that has created this kind of peculiar situation we found ourselves. But the truth and the reality is that this is not peculiar to us alone. Even in the rest of the world, letters are not being written as we used to do, right? However, the difference between Nigeria and the rest of the world is this. I'll give just two examples.
Okay.
In the rest of the world, especially the Western world, you still have landlines operating.
Which work.
And they work. Every home has a landline. In Nigeria today, everybody uses the GSM, the mobile phone.
Yes.
I doubt whether you have a landline in your house now.
No, I don't.
Neither do I. And so this applies to many of us. That is the point. The second point is that even when we are talking about letters and posting letters, even though letters are declining in numbers and volume, in the rest of the world, they still post stuff.
Yes.
They still post, for example, statement of accounts, the bills for their hydro,
even
for
medications, they still post.
They post. But here, it is still at a very critical stage that we don't really even bother. A lot of people don't even know, like you said, that so there's still postal service. But that one of the things that I started doing immediately I came into this job is to begin to get our people back into the consciousness that, hey, the postal service still exists and it works. And it works. Because we need to really change the dynamism of this. I mean, and that is to get our people to recognize the fact that, yes, letters may not be coming, but I need to also point this out. That, yes, the disruptive, I call it disruptive internet of the internet service has affected us. But it has also created opportunities. It has created opportunities for the postal service administrations across the world. Because now you have the e-commerce platform, people still send stuff across nations. And that is one area that we have been able to catch up with the loss that has come from the letter writing culture that has dropped.
Okay.
You also have a number of other ancillary services that the postal services are doing. For example, we have what we call financial services.
Okay.
And right now in Nigerian Postal Service, we do international transfer services. You can send in a fund from any part of the world, and we have a relationship with most of the these international operators, that you can leverage on to bring funds into Nigeria. We've been doing this since I came in now.
That's new.
And so, because we have the reach, we have the capacity, we are everywhere. You don't need to, it does not only have to happen in the cities, even in the rural communities. If you have a son who wants to send money to the parent, we have a very enduring relationship with the Western Union money transfer service, that you can send the money and he will get the money in his village of Otuocha or any part of Nigeria.
Wow.
So all of these are some of the services that we do, apart from the e-government platform that we are beginning to introduce, that will make our postal service facilities a one-stop shop. You can walk into our postal service and, for example, get your national identity card. You can register in the post office.
In the post office.
You can go into a post office, and of course, all this registration of birth. Those are the things we are putting together now. We want you to be able to enter a post office and renew your passport, international passport.
Wow.
You want to be able to enter a post office and do your driver's license and renew the same. These are the new things that we are putting together in order to lift the postal service from the comatose state that we met it.
Wow. Stamps play a great role. It's not just about sending letters. Stamps have their own identity. For the purpose of our viewers, can you explain to us what form of identity stamps hold?
Thank you. This is a very interesting question. Stamps is money.
Money.
Yes. It's a store of value. Because we have a very strong philatelic tradition where people collect stamps. And recently we launched the 100 years of Nigerian stamp, 1914 to 2014. It's a collection, a compendium of stamps that tells the history of our nation from the day of amalgamation to 2014, which captures the tradition, the culture, the economy, and a lot of information is provided through this stamp. I said that stamp is a store of value.
Yes.
Because for those who are collecting stamp, you can collect a stamp today for 20 naira, and in 5 or 10 years, you can sell the same stamp for 20 million.
In Nigeria here?
We have international collectors who are constantly collecting stamps. And they have stamps. If you go to Switzerland, in Bern, which houses the headquarters of Universal Postal, every nation has their stamps represented there. In fact, you have a whole place, philatelic division, that people are transacting, that they serve as an intermediary to get people who may be interested. If you want to buy a Nigerian stamp that was made in 1874, you may not be able to get it anywhere anymore, except there, and even some collectors. You have some collectors who have collected and have kept through the times. They pass this from family to family, generation to generation. And you want to collect now, they name their price.
Wow.
And of course, you need...
Just like works of art.
Of course. That's what stamps are. But the culture in our own environment is still very low. But we've seen people requesting for our stamps from as far as, places as far as Switzerland, as Australia, New Zealand, for Nigerian stamps.
Nigerian stamps.
Yes.
Wow.
So the stamp tells the story of a nation, its people, its economy, and that is why we encourage people to collect stamps.
But I'm now trying to understand how come it is that we don't use stamps to validate our transactions anymore in Nigeria? That is one. It's a two-pronged question. And then with the issue of stamp duties, where did the misconception come from about the Nigerian Postal Service being a revenue collecting organization? Is it because maybe the stamp duties that people are made to pay are so exorbitant as against the prices of stamps that we know? What is
No,
it?
I don't think that is the issue. Let me take the second leg of the question first. The people, the problem what happened because we were using physical stamp,
Stamps, yes.
which were fixed to a document. But when the issue of electronic transaction came up, it became an issue. Because when you do transaction in your bank, you pay a stamp duty,
Duty.
which is 50 naira. That is actually the stamp. It's not even, it's a misnomer to call it stamp
Stamp
duty.
duty.
Because it
It's
is
payment
just
for the stamp.
to validate that
Yes.
transaction. But when it becomes an electronic transaction and that physical stamps are no longer required, the Nigerian Postal Service, before I came here, took the matter up with the appropriate agencies of government to say, hey, we are noticing that government is losing resources because people now do electronic transactions, which now kept away the capacity of the Nigerian Postal Service to create stamp to validate most of the transactions. And it was then agreed by the Office of the Accountant General with the central bank that the central bank should create an account in the name of Nigerian Postal Service to warehouse those 50 naira stamp collection fees and put it in that account. So at that point, that actually happened, and the money were kept, And at some point, some people went to court to challenge, this, and that was the reason why the money was left in the bank for so long. It was in 2016 until 2020. Don't forget the Finance Act was signed into law in 2019, January 2019, by Mr. President. So that is how, immediately that was signed, the administration of stamp duty, according to that law, was conferred on the Federal Inland Revenue Service. And that is how the electronic transaction now remained the purview of the Federal Inland Revenue Service in the administration of stamp duty. However, you made reference also to the fact that we are no longer using stamp to validate transactions. I think the confusion that started with the transfer of that administration mandate to FRS created this problem. As it is, the government is working very hard. We've had a lot of engagement with relevant agencies of government, and I want to say that most of these issues will be resolved before we enter the new year, because as it were, most of the transactions that are normally validated with the use of the postage stamp are no longer being validated, because the number of sectors outside the finance, the transaction undertaken by the banks are no longer being validated. And we believe that that's a very big lacuna, particularly at a time that the government needs all the funding, to continue to do its various services to the people. Yes.
Now, my next question to you, still on the Nigerian Postal Service. Like I said earlier, visiting maybe a local government or somewhere in the rural area and I see a post office, I'm shocked that it's still in existence. But what is even more worrisome, a lot of times, is the attitude of staff at these places, even in the urban centers, even in places like Lagos. You go to some post office or postal outlets and you're shocked at the mentality. Maybe a feeling of having been left out in the thick of things. What do you think has been responsible for this? Is it that, people don't have that feeling or that mentality of being a part of the Nigerian Postal Service anymore, or what is it?
No, on the contrary, I don't think that is the case. Based on my experience, I've traveled across Nigeria where we have facilities to really understand what are the challenges facing our staff, and I've seen very clearly that the workforce, they are still very devoted, they are very committed, and they are knowledgeable enough. But the mentality that we are not operating a commercial entity is what is affecting the delivery of our services. And that has been an age-long problem. But I want to tell you that is also being addressed now, because the Nigerian Postal Service is going through a reform now. That reform actually started far back before I came, but we have even pushed the frontiers even further by ensuring that we can effectively commercialize most of our activities. As it were, and as we speak now, we have already established 2 companies as limited liability subsidiary companies of NIPOS. The property, we have now a NIPOS Property Development Company, and we have now a NIPOS Logistics and Transport Company.
Okay.
We have noted that NIPOS has so many properties located in the major centers of cities across Nigeria that has been obtained since the years, but even since independence. And most of those properties have either been encroached upon, or they have either been taken away or been annexed by various agencies of government at the center, at the states, the local government. And don't forget that in those days, most of the locations that are used by post offices were donated by communities,
Yes.
in those days.
Yes.
And so today, most of those communities are now saying, no, we want
our property back.
We want to take them. But again, it is not that easy. It is not possible. But what we have then do is to ensure that we can now develop most of these properties, because many of them have been left unused over time, and once development has already caught up with those places, they now become so attractive, and so most people are now looking at them as a potential land that they can grab. Now we have now set up that company to harness all of our property assets and leverage them and make them really functional and commercialize them. That way, we'll be able to ensure that our revenue is improved upon, and then we can also sustain the legacies and keep those assets for generations, for posterity. The logistics and transport company, our business is logistics.
Yes.
And we have seen over time that we've really continuously gone down in providing service along those lines. And so one of the things that we expect to get from this new initiative is that we want to be the driver of logistics business in Nigeria. We want to be able to move stuff from one point to the other without any stress. Right now,
like the dispatch rider stuff.
We have dispatch riders, of course. But what we are saying is that you want to move a bulk of cargo from Lagos to, for example, Onitsha. We don't have the capacity to do that right now, because for a long time, NIPOS has not been benefiting from government support in terms of putting funding for now. I would like to say that for over 22 years now, NIPOS has not gotten any capital votes from the federal government.
Are you for real?
Yes.
For over 22 years?
Yes, since 1998.
So how has NIPOS been functioning?
It's been functioning using the limited
Internally
IGR
generated revenue
to drive its businesses
Wow.
and to renew its infrastructure, and that has been the most challenging part
Wow.
of it.
Wow.
So that's why we are now thinking
Outside the
creatively
box.
outside the box to ensure that we are not going to continue like this. We need to find a way to, to keep going through creative means, and that's what exactly we're trying to do now. So we are going to go commercial, and that way we will not even require government intervention in any form. At the moment, government is intervening because they pay the salaries of our workforce. But the moment we can now go full block, commercialize, I believe that things will get better.
And I guess that would also come with the mentality of the staff.
Exactly. Because at the moment, like I said, the staff is not that they are not willing to work, but it's like the civil service environment and mentality, and the fact that they are not driven by profit, those are the things. But in the new born NIPOST, with some of these facilities, the new
And
companies,
services.
and so things will change.
So basically, we're expecting maybe a partially commercialized NIPOST.
A commercialized NIPOST, yes.
Now, when you talk about logistics and delivery and all of that, are you just going to be looking at stuff that are being sent through NIPOST, or for anyone anywhere? You want to send anything, you can actually go to NIPOST. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that has, moved through your postal service.
No, the point is that if we want to send something, for example, from Lagos to Benin City, or from Benin City to Kaura Namuda, you need to move this through a source. If you don't use the postal service, you need to use the private operators. You cannot, because of that, move and leave whatever you are doing and begin to carry stuff around. So we want people to see the postal service as the most viable option for them to move, anything they want to move. So that the courier and logistic business is a very huge one. And the advent of COVID-19 has even further exposed the necessity for people to use some of these facilities.
Exactly.
So we're trying to latch on all of that to get things properly structured. When you visit some of our facilities, you will almost cry because of their abandoned states. Most of our facilities across the country we need to upgrade them. We need to make them look functional. You need to make them look like an office where people can come, work, and feel happy working. This is one of the most pressing challenges that I met when I got here. You find yourself in one of the facilities, and you discover that the people don't even have chairs to sit.
Wow.
Yes, it is that bad. Yes, it is that bad. And so we have to say, okay, what do we do? How do we get, because, okay, if you don't have that minimum basic need,
how do you
work? How do you work? So it's like we need to start right from the scratch to get some of these things running.
Wow.
And so it's been the most challenging part of it.
Wow. Well done, sir. Let's take a break here now, because we've heard so much from him. He said so much about what he does at the Nigerian Postal Service and even his life before here. So let's move outside to meet one or two people that this man has worked with, some of his staff, people who have known him. Because to me, and I'm sure you will agree with me too, that he looks like a man who wants to set his sights on achieving a certain goal, he goes for it. So let's get to meet these individuals. We'll be right back.
Adebayo changes attitude to life, especially in getting to the top of everything that he lays his hand on at the Polytechnic Ibadan. he just went for his national diploma program there and crossed over to Ife then. Then we noticed that dramatic change in his approach to studies, approach to life generally, compared with what the situation was when we were in the technical school. So I think he became so motivated, maybe by the challenges of life, that became open to him after the technical school. And he carried that to the university and was on top of his class all through the 4-year program in economics department that he first went through.
Well, working with Dr. Adewusi, you have, it's like going to a training school, even with all your experience and with your academic qualification. The experience was learning daily and having to tackle challenges, daily life challenges on the job, dealing with people, dealing with intrigues in government and in politics. So Dr. Adewusi is a master of the game. He succeeded where others were not able to, where others will not even ever dare to tread. Why we worked together. I had known him when he was before he became a commissioner for finance. He was in Ibile Holdings and an investment arm of Lagos State. And before then, he was part of the committee that did a whole lot of restructuring and reorganization ahead of the former governor of Lagos State and leader of APC, our leader, before he resumed the position of the governor of Lagos State. He was a member of the transition team. And I had to work with them on some other areas too during that period.
Dr. Adewusi is a man of robust experience, a father, a humble man, and a man that has penchant for success. He always tell me, nobody celebrates effort, celebrate success. But the greatest of it that touches me most about him till today is his humility. He's humble in greatness. It's exceptional and exemplary.
Glad to know you're still with us. The program is Executive Discourse, and we've been out there to meet a few people who have worked with my guest today and who know him through and through, confirming that he is a man who wants to set his heart to what he wants to do. He makes sure he achieves them. Now back to you, sir. Still talking about the Nigerian Postal Service. We see that in all that you have told me, the logistics, the delivery, and all of that. Now, I'm wondering, because we find a lot of people who shop for items and rather prefer to go through some private organizations to deliver them, or even serve as a third party, like a mediator in between, to bring in these things. Now, what role does the Nigerian Postal Service have to play in all of this, in international trade, for instance?
Thank you. The most important information I would like to pass here is that all the mails that comes into Nigeria through international sources, especially the ones that are routed through the public postal operators in those countries, in the 192 member nation, must first of all be delivered in our International Mail Processing Center in Ikeja. That is it. For Nigeria. Yes.
Oh.
We have
everything.
Yes. Any mail that is sent by the United States Postal Service, yes, or Canadian Royal Mail Service, or must come to our International Mail Processing Center.
Ikeja?
Yes. It's in the airport.
Yes.
So, and what we do is that once those mails get to our IMPC facility, the mails are screened because we have a standing customs unit, we have a standing NDLA unit, and all these security agencies. Yes, they are there. They are resident in our International Mail Processing Center in Lagos.
Oh.
And so all of those males are screened before they now go to their respective locations and destinations. And don't forget that the Nigerian Postal Service has a courier arm that is called the EMS. The EMS Postal is our own courier services that we use to send messages and parcels to anywhere in the country, and they are very effective. You can try it and see.
In fact, I didn't know that the EMS was still functional.
It's still functional, it's effective, and we have used it to send messages to any part of Nigeria and the world. Most people that are sending stuff to parts of the world, anywhere in the world, they use our EMS service. Yes.
Wow.
And it's effective, it's cheaper, and it's a very effective way of. So that's it. Yes. All of the international courier operation in Nigeria, we license them to operate. And every year, they must pass through certain regulation and complete certain things before we renew their license to operate. Yes.
Now, in all that we have talked about, obviously, you are a very busy man. And I know that it wasn't easy getting you to sit for this conversation. Does this job, how does it impact your life, family life, social life? How does it?
There is no doubt about it that you are in this kind of job, you have to give a lot of sacrifices, which sometimes affects the family. You may need to travel at short notice to carry out certain official functions. And don't forget that because we have facilities scattered all over Nigeria, even to cover Nigeria takes a lot of time and effort. And so it's not been easy combining this official work with the family life and all of that. But we have kept going, believing that once we are still healthy and we are still able to move around, we should do our best to leave an indelible mark. And that's exactly what we are doing. Yes.
In all that you have done, you've been in the academia, you've been in government, you're a politician. Definitely you have your ideologies as a human being, as a person. What is it that drives you?
Hard work, honesty, humility.
Hard work, honesty. 3 H's.
Because my late dad, he died over 20 years ago, used to tell me while I was growing up that the only thing that can make a difference in your life is that you must remain humble. That whoever loses humility has lost everything. That no matter what happens to you, remain humble and always treat others as you would want to be treated. And that is something that has remained in my memory for a long time. Of course, he has also imbibed the spirit of hard work in all of us, the children. You must remain hard work, hard work, hard work. That's what he, and he's always also interested in the fact that you must tell the truth, no matter what happens. Even if they are going to cut your head, make sure that you say the truth. Truth can be very bitter. Most times, many people do not even want to be told the truth. They would immediately take offense. But I have taken that as one of my own principle of life. That I'll say it the way it is.
The way it is.
Yeah.
What turns you off?
Arrogance.
The exact opposite of humility.
Arrogance.
So you can't stand an arrogant person?
No. Because I look at it, what is it? This life? Everybody here is on a temporary journey. that will end at God's time. And you don't even know.
Nobody knows when
Nobody
it will
knows.
end.
So what is it? So just remain humble and do your best and leave the rest to history, posterity. That's it.
Well, we're gleaning the kind of person you are on a personal note, but I think it's important we get to meet the members of the family and friends of Dr. Ismail Adewusi to tell us actually, this is a man who is driven by honesty, humility, and hard work. Let's find out from the members of the family. Executive Discourse will be right back.
My father is a very caring man. He's very supportive. He's very motivating. He's actually my role model. He loves helping people. He likes when things are organized. He's able to look and decide, okay, this is what needs to be done. So helping people is one of his driving force. He helps people all around him.
My dad is a very caring, loving human being. Since I've known him as a dad, I've learned a lot from him. You know, very informative, very educative. He has a vast knowledge of so many different things. You know, you can actually engage him in a conversation and learn new things every time you have a chat with him. So I would say he's well grounded, humble, and like I said before, very knowledgeable.
Okay, so we've heard it from the members of the family. The kids have told us who he is, and his friends have also confirmed the kind of person my guest is today. Back to you, sir. How do you relax?
Relaxation. Well, I try to my routine is that I do my early morning exercise.
Okay.
You know, the treadmill, the bicycle, and then I get ready for the day. And I go to work. I return back home, and then I make sure that I watch my NTA news at 9 o'clock, and I watch other news channels at 10. Before I relax to bed. My day starts at 5 a.m. every day. I say my prayer, and then I get ready for my yes.
So basically, the major way you relax is with your exercise.
Yes, I really don't have social life. Yeah, unfortunately, since I came into Abuja, I've not been socializing much. Don't forget, I came at the time I was barely 3 months old when the
COVID came upon the
pandemic came
world.
up, and so that has shot me
Yeah.
in.
Okay, so
I've not
maybe
been
we're
able
hoping,
to.
of course, that COVID will eventually pack its bags. Maybe that way you'll be able to settle
Oh
in
yes,
more
I believe so.
into Abuja.
I've been involved in some official social activities, but that's it.
That's
you
it.
know.
What determines your dress sense? I see you're dressed in white.
Yeah, because today is Friday.
Okay.
But other days I'm not colorblind. I wear anything that suits me at any time. That's it.
Well, you seem to favor our native attire.
Yes, I'm more in native because it's comfortable to work with. I don't want to begin to
How to knot a tie at
not a
all.
tie at this age, and so that's it. But I wear occasionally, when it's when I feel like. Yes.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ismail Adebayo Adewusi. You can be sure that certainly I am going to patronize the Nigerian Postal Service from now on. And guess what? Because I've been thoroughly schooled today, I'm going to go about collecting stamps.
That would be very nice.
Yes.
To turn you into an instant millionaire.
Exactly my point. You just got it. That's the point.
Become a millionaire.
Yes, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you for
very
having
much.
me. Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure. Thank you.
The show has been Executive Discourse, where, like I always say to you, we unveil the trailblazers. This is indeed a trailblazer, a man who knows what he wants and he goes for it. He indeed knows his onions, and I believe that he's taken the Nigerian Postal Service to the greatest height it can achieve as best as possible. Let's do this again, same time next week, because you never can tell who will be unveiling to you as our guest on the show. Remember, Executive Discourse is a sole production of the Nigerian Television Authority, and you can only catch it on our stations and also on our social media handles. Till we meet again next week, I remain Ololade Adenuji Adele.